Hey, everybody, this is Jonathan Ogden, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
Hey, Bruin fans, this is David Singleton, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show. Go Bruins.
Hey, this is Wayne Cook, and you're listening to What's Bruin Show.
Hey, guys, it's Chris Johnson, UCLA national champion. I need y'all to listen to the What's Bruin Show. These dudes are off the hook.
This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Berryfield and Mike Regalado, and occasionally some friends, talking all things UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Berryfield, and in a couple minutes, we're going to be joined by the amazing Wayne Cook, the sideline reporter and former Bruin quarterback for the UCLA Bruin football team, and it's going to be a great interview, 45 minutes of wonderfulness with Wayne Cook. It's What's Bruin Show on the What's Bruin Show network. Thank you for your support. Get us on Twitter at What's Bruin Show, What's Bruin Show at gmail.com, patreon.com/What's Bruin Show, what'sbruinshow.com, what'sbruin.substack.com, all those places. Also on YouTube, you can search up What's Bruin Show and look for the UCLA stuff. And we have a hotline, 805-399-4WBS.
WBS. Suck it, Raina Troy.
Thank you, Mikey.
Jake, you starting without me?
Yes, I did. Just because we still have a whole nother show to do after
I know.
this.
Yeah,
So
I was talking to your lovely wife.
that's okay. It's good.
But yeah, no.
Big applause, Big
yes.
Mike.
Even in the pits of despair, Wayne Cook
We have Wayne Cook.
can bring us up. He can lift us up.
What a hero.
This is what I'm saying. Cook Habermill 2028. That's the ticket I want.
That's a good ticket. I like that. So, anywho, we are going to post this as a standalone, just Wayne Cook talking to WBS. And then Mike and I are going to record our own thoughts about the dismissal of Deshaun Foster and, coming out of the New Mexico game and all that stuff, whatever we want to talk about there, which will also include all of your calls from the hotline on there. I know there's a bunch of calls. So there'll be 2 shows this week for you. Hopefully it helps you get your head together a little bit when it comes to UCLA football and where the program is in general and all that stuff. But I'm going to get right to it. This is a wonderful interview with Wayne Cook, and there's no reason to really stall.
Absolutely no holds barred.
And no reason to stall anymore. So let's get to it. All right, we welcome Wayne Cook back to the show. He's been a terrific ambassador of UCLA football for years and years and years since his playing days in the 90s. He's a Rose Bowl quarterback. He's the Bruin sideline reporter. He's also a professional teacher in the classroom, fighting those wars with those darn history students. There's no one out there that cares any more about UCLA football than this man, Wayne Cook.
Not a single person.
Honored to have him back on the What's Bruin Show. Wayne, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. I mean, you know how when we go through these, and you guys, I appreciate it. And you guys have always been great friends of mine too, and supported all that I do. So I always appreciate it. So whenever you guys call, I don't think I've ever said no, right? Because I will always do this.
That is absolutely true.
But the idea is that when you lose a coach, and one of the problems with what I do for UCLA is I get to know them. And as a sideline reporter, sometimes they're former players. We've had a few of those. Bob Toledo, way back in the day, was my coach before I started working with him. And so the idea is that, Deshaun Foster is and always should be remembered as a great Bruin. I know he loves UCLA. He handled everything at the end with class. From what I've heard, he had a team meeting and he talked about, things like this is a results business. I mean, you've got to, and he almost turned it into a learning lesson for the players. And so I wish Deshaun the best. And I've tried to reach out through, I don't have his actual phone number, but I've told other people, make sure you let him know that I hope that whatever he does next, and I'm sure he will dominate whatever that is. But as a program, you also have to think about what's next.
Yeah.
And, how do we move on? How do we play better football? Like, are we fielding a team that's not playing hard? Are we, there's a lot of questions that come out of not just an 0-3 start, because there have been, I played on a Rose Bowl team that had an 0-2 start, but we also played a heck of a lot better than this team's playing right now. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And so, we're going to, it is what it is. This is what's happened. And now what are we going to do? I'm never one of those people that thinks that, this is the end, right? I love it when some of these accounts out there, UCLA is dropping its football program,
so dumb,
from what and what's so dumb, because we live in a world where people believe that. It takes till like the 10th or 15th response before someone goes, is this even real?
Yeah.
I'm like, are we really that stupid as a people that we don't realize there's so much fake stuff out there we're being lied to all the time? And part of it's even the financial situation. Like, from everything I understand, UCLA is not going to be like, oh, we're going to go find the cheapest coach we can find. It sounds like they're looking to find the best coach they can find. And to me, that's exciting.
It absolutely is. And we are absolutely not here to disparage Coach Foster, just like you're saying, Wayne. And we do appreciate him as a Bruin, and we hope that he absolutely lands on his feet, and we're sure that he will. But, this coming into the season, we talked to you a month ago, and at the very least, expectations were they're going to be at least as good as they were last year, given what had changed. But we really didn't know, because there was so much change on the team, so many new guys in, so many new guys out. But with those expectations, what they were, and expectations don't mean anything, obviously, but then they start the season, and it's arguably like the worst 3-game stretch in program history. Right. And the coup de grace for Foster is that loss to New Mexico at the Rose Bowl. So, right. I mean, in your opinion, given what we were talking about a month ago versus where we're at now, what do you think really is there one thing to point to that went wrong, a million things to point to went wrong? How would you characterize what went wrong?
Well, for me, most years, even the Chip Kelly years, like, when I talk going into the season, you guys all know this, I tend to be as optimistic as I can be.
Oh, us too.
Within reason.
Yeah.
And so I can look back at some of the, people forget that Dorian Thompson-Robinson's senior year was really close to being a championship season.
Yes.
We had a lot of really good players. Like, you go back to Zach Charbonnet when he was doing what he was doing, and look at that O-line that we had. Like, those guys were really, really good players. We went 8, 9, 8, 3 years in a row with 8 or 9 wins, and they all could have been a little bit more. We beat some really good teams. So I know people act like we've been bad for a long time, but those teams are not bad. They were far from bad.
Yeah.
So like, the idea is that I can feel pretty good. I think last year even I told people I thought the defense was going to be better, but I knew more. This year was so weird, because when you go to practice, and I went to probably more practices this year than I've ever been to. Like, one of it was in Costa Mesa, which is a nice place, and my wife would just say, drop me off at the beach and pick me up after practice,
Good plan.
which made it easy. But the idea is that, when you're in a vacuum the way you are, and all you do is see what you're doing against your own team, it can be misleading, because there were so many players on this team that I had not seen play actual football.
Right.
The whole defense, I mean, pretty much every single defensive starter. And I know we had a couple guys coming back, and Gary and Keanu. I knew what John Bonds could do. But for the most part, I mean, it was a ton of new guys. And it just has not even come close to gelling. When you get pushed around by UNLV, and then by, especially by giving up almost 300 rushing yards to New Mexico was like something I never thought I would see.
Unreal. Yeah, absolutely unreal.
And right. And so, I hoped that Ikaika Malloy would put it together, and I'm still hopeful, but it just has not worked. And we've looked slow. I go all the way back to the game against Utah, and I went, wow, Utah just looks so much more athletic than us.
Yeah.
And it just feels like from that moment, I'm like, I just don't know if our guys are thinking too much, if we missed on some of the transfers, if we, because I've always come back to the one thing you can control is effort, right? We've all heard those sayings a million times. And so, I would rather guys, and trust me, there are guys on this team that play really, really hard. And yeah, they're missing some tackles and doing some things, but they play really hard. So, but as a team, it feels like we're not playing fast enough. And so I just missed. And then on offense, I mean, I watched, everything that's happened on offense, and I was excited. I was willing to bet the farm that the offense was going to be better than last year. But
us too.
a couple of my question marks were, I'm not sure about the receiving core. And again, this is not a knock on the receiving core, but I just hadn't seen enough of, if we have some receivers that are going to do big time things. And I was concerned about the offensive line. because, we only had a couple guys coming back, and I didn't know what was going to happen with the transfers. And neither one of those things have been, I don't think our receivers have been horrible, don't get me wrong, but the offensive line hasn't been as good as it needs to be.
Right.
And to be honest with you, we haven't really gotten a rhythm in any of these games, offensively. So it's been really, really difficult. So I still think these coaches say the right things. I think they're really smart. I like Tino Sinceri a ton. But it takes time when you have an offense that as he said, is going to, make you cover, every blade of grass, and we're going to go through progressions, and we're going to do things the right way. It's difficult to do that with a bunch of new pieces. And then when you throw in a new quarterback that did not transfer before spring practice, so he didn't get that, and you only get a short period of time, it's just really, really, really hard. So, I've announced to the world, I think at the post-game show, I was apologizing because I feel bad because, I didn't see this coming. I thought we would be, at worst, I thought we would have 2 wins by now. I thought we'd be 2-1. And I thought we would, have a real good shot at Northwestern and Maryland and Michigan State. And, I knew there was a couple tough ones out there, but I just didn't see this coming. So this is probably the most shocked I've been at the beginning of the year in a long time.
With the transfer portal and having just so many guys enter the program, is that a big factor? The fact that some guys aren't coming in during spring and then have to take that time during summer and then have that short turnaround in fall?
Yep.
Because this is the way it is. And Chip Kelly, even Deshaun Foster in his first year, had to deal with the transfer portal. How much of a issue was it this year?
So I've said a million times, and this is a huge problem around the country. We focus on the really elite teams, but when the elite teams are recruiting 5-star guys and then they're having some transfers come in and fill, areas of need versus the teams that are almost bringing in entirely new teams, is a big difference. And, everybody wants to say the culture is great when your record's 0-0, but when you start losing football games, and you have a whole bunch of players that tend to move around from school to school. And let's be honest, some football players do that when they're in at the younger age now. I've been saying this for years. Like when my kids played Pop Warner football, I was blown away with how many parents would take their kids and send them to another town to play on a better team. And it's so funny because they do the same thing in high school. Like normally you get kids that are because I teach middle school, and my school is a feeder school, like to a certain high school.
Right.
Well, a whole bunch of the really good Pop Warner players don't go to that high school. They go to the best high school in the area. And it ends up, and then they all act like they're leaders. And I'm like, well, are winners. And I'm like, well, you're not a winner. You just went to a program that already wins.
Right.
And so it's crazy because now you get into college, and every time something goes a little south, or if you just want a bigger payday, players transfer. And you have guys now all over the country that are, and I'm not talking about just UCLA players, I'm talking about everywhere, that have been on their second, third, and fourth school. And you have to wonder that when you start losing a few games, if they're already thinking about what their next jump is. And that's really, really, really tricky. And so that was in general, just so everybody listening, I'm not just talking about UCLA, I'm talking about a lot of places. So the idea is that what this staff under Tim Skipper is going to have to do, our new interim head coach, is figure out a way to keep these guys focused, because football is really hard when you go into games and you're not locked in. Like when you're not locked in football, you get the crap knocked out of you. And as an individual, you have to be willing to give it everything you got, or else football gets really, really hard. And the schedule's not going to get any easier. It's hard from here on out.
Yeah.
So they've got to convince these guys to play hard, to stop thinking about if there's a next step. Because let's be honest, there's a 30-day window that's opening up. So we don't even know who we're still going to have.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on right now. But I will say this, there's still a ton of alumni that care. There's still, sounds like the new chancellor cares, the athletic department cares. And so if that's the case, then there's still hope that UCLA can turn this thing around. May not be this year. We'll see. I'm hopeful because I do like a lot of the players on this team, and I don't think they're going to give up. So, keep fighting, guys. But at the same time, down the road, we want to see this program kind of return back to being a competitive team.
No, we want to see that too, and it's funny. I didn't even realize Skipper was part of the staff until he got named interim coach. But it made me feel better that he was on the staff, remembering what he did at Fresno State, and he's kind of like a pro at being an interim coach at this point, relatively speaking. But Wayne, you talked about the transfers. Mike asked about the transfers and coming in and out, and like I said it a couple months ago, like to me, like the most important job for a head coach right now in college football is being able to take a bunch of guys that came from somewhere else because they're transferring here and transferring there and transferring everywhere. And the most important thing about fielding a football team is getting them all to pull the same direction at the same time. And, with that being said, and seeing where the Bruins are right now at 0-3, and now they're transitioning, at least for the season, looking for a head coach, and it's going to be Skipper for the next, 2.5 months or whatever. Are you optimistic at his ability or the rest of the staff's ability to kind of get some sort of improvement out of this team this year? Do you think there are any goals for this particular season before we move on to the next head coach? Like, what are you looking for the most out of just the next 9 games?
Well, from everything I've heard, and I remember when Skipper took over at Fresno State, and that year, a whole bunch of players were wanting him to get the job.
Right.
Now, we all know that that's not always the right hire, but at the same time, I think they went to a bowl game. I think they finished up 6-6. At the end of the season, I thought I read it was 7-6, so they probably lost. I don't remember if they lost or won the bowl game, but the idea was that they played for him. And then, if you remember, I just read this today, former head coach for Fresno State, Pat Hill, came out and said that I know one thing, they will play really, really hard for Tim Skipper. And I like that because if you guys remember Coach Hill, which was rumored at times to be a possible UCLA coach, if you remember all the searching coaches in past years. I mean, that guy was a tough guy. I mean, he was the kind of guy that wanted to play anybody. He actually probably overscheduled Fresno State at times because he was willing to play anybody at any time. And when he says that about Tim Skipper, it makes me feel like we're going to have a coach that's going to try and get the best out of these guys. And so to answer your question, I feel like I've been beat up, you guys. I feel like I've been knocked down. I feel like the UNLV game and then followed by the New Mexico game, I was just like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I couldn't believe this was happening.
You and us both.
I would like to think that the athletes that we have, Lane, there's players on the team that I absolutely think very, very highly of, and I've been around for a long time. They're gonna try to. They need to find the guys that are willing to play, and I mean that. If there's a bunch of guys if guys going through the motions sit their butts down, those are the kinds of guys that are probably going to transfer anyway.
Right.
You find the best players that are just absolute ballers, and you have them guys that'll give it. I don't care if they're a little undersized or if maybe they don't look like what. Find guys that are going to play as hard as they can. If you have to simplify everything to play younger players, then do it. Put the guys on the field that want to win and are going to scratch and claw and fight. And you go. And if you lose every single game with those kids, so what? I don't want to see a bunch of UCLA Bruins loafing around. It just makes the brand. It makes all of us that are alumni. If you're out there just going through the motions and accepting the fact that you're not going to win a football game, then I don't want to see you on the field. So they're going to do their best to find a bunch of players that want to be out there and want to play. And if they do that, good things can happen. I think you guys saw this. There was something posted about, when you look on paper, it's not like we're at the bottom of the list when it comes to talent that we actually have on our roster. Now, those kinds of things can be misleading sometimes.
Certainly. Because
maybe they're based on high school stars and stuff like that. But there is plenty of talent on this team. I love our running back room. We've got a quarterback that can be really, really good. And by the way, if you're losing, run Nico more.
Yeah.
If he's the quarterback, use his legs more. Because I'm watching Haynes King almost kill himself to win football games. You got to do what you got to do. Anything you can do to try to win football games. So find the guys that are willing to play and go out there and give it your best and see what happens. And if that happens, they're going to find a way to win a game or two. I know that.
Yeah, and I don't think that Wayne, I really was. Nobody's more optimistic within reason than I am, and I think Mike is, and you are too when we're in the preseason, all that stuff. And I really was just in this particular season very, very just kind of like, well, what the hell are we going to be watching for the next 9 games? And the answer you just gave me like actually did, it's simple and it's obvious, but it makes perfect sense to me. And now find dudes that want to play, and I love that. I love that answer. And find dudes that want to play that we're going to see next year too. And I think that's a great mission for any Bruin fan that's going to watch this team the rest of the season. Now, Wayne, looking at, what's next though, because they are going to be in a coaching search, what are the key qualities you want to see as the new Bruin head coach?
I think it's someone, and this is what's really cool because we do have a new chancellor.
Yeah.
And some of you have seen the part circulating about he really, thinks that the football program and the athletics of the school matter. And I've always laughed at people that act like somehow if you care too much about sports, it's going to affect the overall academic side of your school. And that's a bunch of crap.
It's insane.
If you have really, really good athletics, it should make more people want to come to your school. You're going to get I think it's just good for the atmosphere. It's good for everything that happens. I mean, I have all kinds of things. I've been trying to figure out for years, why can't the band show up like the football players and fill a whole section in the stadium?
Yeah.
Why can't they come to school early? I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer to me. Like you say, we don't want to come back from vacation. Well, I'm sorry, but you have to. You're a UCLA band member.
If you want to be in the band,
absolutely. You need to be at the games because think about the optics. It doesn't look good.
No.
The band, when it's there, it looks good. I mean, I need to hear our fight song.
And it sounds good.
Like, why do we play two games every year without them?
No,
I'm like, I don't know why I've never really thought about that before, but it started bugging me. And I'm like, well, when you're an athlete, you have to show up early.
Yeah.
You have to show up in summer. You have to put in the work. If you're in the band, show up. And so little things like that kind of wear me out a little bit because to me, it's a part of college football. And for us to play 2 of our 6 home games without a band is really annoying to me.
It's crazy.
And I think it's easily fixable.
As a band dad, Wayne, you know where I was this last week when I was up in Berkeley marching with my daughter up to the stadium as she's dancing around in her band uniform, and it's super duper cool, and it's something that is part of college football. And if it's not there, you're absolutely right. It is a glaring thing that's not there.
But these are the types of things, and I'm going to go back to having a new chancellor in Julio Frank, and the idea that he cares about sports, and the fact that he wants to win. I don't know him at all. I don't know. And I did say his name correct, didn't I?
I think so.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I did. Absolutely. I want to make sure because I've listened to him talk. I've heard him speak. I know that he did a really good job of kind of getting Miami back on track. And let's be honest, last couple of years, Miami's been a real player, and he was there to help orchestrate that. So when you believe that the school cares, and you believe that, because to be honest with you, who's in charge, who's at the top? I've been around UCLA for a long time. I mean, I'll go all the way back to the late 80s, early 90s when I started going to games as a recruit. And when you have people that care, Chancellor Young back in the day was the man. I mean, he was standing right next to Terry Donahue on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. When you have people that care about that part of the school, it matters a ton. And then you get everybody involved in the building. Everybody in the building has to care too. And if everybody's pulling in the right direction and doing the right things, I don't want a bunch of people that just clock in when they're supposed to and clock out when they're supposed to. If you have to stay late to make the program better and what you do better, then you do that. And if you have a bunch of people that are like that, good things can happen. So, there's a lot of little things that need to be done. But I truly believe it's possible. And I'll say this to you guys. I know I'm being long-winded as usual.
We love it.
When you're a school like UCLA and you look around and you see what happened at Arizona State, when you see what happened at Indiana, everybody acts like, oh, how can we ever recover from this? Remember Washington at one point in time
exactly.
was, I forget, we're like 0 and whatever before they brought in
0-12.
Chris Peterson.
Yeah.
0 and 12. And you can come back from that. So this team's going to have to believe that. The school's going to have to believe that. And I'm going to say it, and I know people are going to get mad. The fan base has to believe it. If all we do is post negative stuff all the time, and I know it's hard, And if nobody believes, if we're all just going to be gloomy and act like we can never recover from this, I can promise you this. There's a whole bunch of former football players that believe that UCLA can be good again and care. And so if there's, and we just need everybody. We need all Bruin fans everywhere to care and believe. I know it's hard. I know we're frustrated. I know that we can't believe how low we've sunk, but there is a way out of this. We got to keep fighting.
Wayne, with that, and I'm going to ask a little bit of a tough question here, and not trying to get you in trouble or anybody, but how much of this falls on the administration? And I'm going to ask you about if there needs to be change. And I'm not talking about a change in a certain position being held, but just change in the way that the athletic department is run, change in the way branding is done. Like I've been saying that for probably a good year, that and it hit me with women's basketball. You have a number one team in the nation, and yet Juju Watkins and USC are more talked about than Lauren Betts and UCLA. With all, and not just to get into specifics like that, but what has to come from the administration? What not administration, the athletic department.
So first of all, what I love about this is please don't ever be scared to ask me. I'm always in control of how I answer the question. So I wish more people would realize that. You can ask me anything you want. I don't,
and we appreciate that.
I can answer anything I want to. And that was it. Yeah, you can ask me anything you want. I don't. I mean, and you know me. I can start talking about one thing, and by the end of it, you're like, "What was the question again?"
No doubt.
But no, I actually think that that's a wonderful question. And I think that everybody, and I just kind of hinted at it, everybody in the department needs to care.
Yeah.
Everybody in the department needs to realize that there are schools, when you listen to their coaches show, for example, it's done in a way where it's not just the head coach once a week, it's assistant coaches as well. There's access to players. These players live in the NIL era. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just saying this to be selfish, but I'm saying it to let everybody know that, and they're pretty good about giving me this access because they know that I love the school and I won't do anything to hurt it. But you know, these players are smart at UCLA. They're really good, and you teach them. Like you get to dictate how you answer questions. Anybody can ask you anything you want. You get to respond the way you choose. And if you're at a school like UCLA, you should have the intellect to do that. And if we have really good players, I agree with you. We need to market it better. We need to get out in front of if UCLA is better off financially than everybody online is claiming they are. What's wrong with someone getting on social media and making a post and saying, we're fine. We have the means to go out and be competitive. I mean, get out in front of it instead of letting other people create the narrative for you.
It's so true. It's so true.
I mean, so for me, I just think that it kind of goes back to sometimes what I was talking about is that we get so compartmentalized and there's so many different people doing their own thing that I think sometimes just having a meeting with everybody once a week and saying, this is what we want to accomplish. And we need everybody pulling in the same direction. And so when we talk about bringing in a head coach, I guarantee you that the head coach is going to ask these questions too. Yeah. You know, what are we going to do as an athletic department that makes this place somewhere that I want to come coach and I feel like I can win? So that to me has always been something. Like I talked about the band being at the early season games. I talked about, you know, how we promote UCLA football. I think there's just a lot of things that we can do to make UCLA look way more appealing. Instead of letting other people tell us in the world what they're supposed to think of UCLA. And there's only so many times you can tell people that we're the number one public school or the number one applied to. I mean, that's great. I love that. I do. I'm proud of that. But man, we're so much more.
Yes.
You know, we're so much more. And so to me, and we're more than just winning at Olympic sports too. You just said it. Our women's basketball team, there's a shot that I mean, I don't even know if there's a shot. We're probably better than we were last year.
Yeah.
The basketball team, from what I'm hearing with the point guard that we brought in and everybody else, should be a lot better this year. Okay, so there's so many positive, but man, we have to absolutely pump the school up more, and that means that, you know. So anyway, I could go on all day, and I'm not insulting anybody in particular. I'm just literally trying to say that I think that there's a lot more that we can do.
No,
Yeah.
and number one, I have a couple of things to respond to that, and it's number one, the What's Bruin show is always available if UCLA ever decides to do a coaches show every week, because I would love to have that.
We have the
Well,
equipment.
no, slow down. No, slow down. We do a coaches show every
Where
week.
is it, Wayne?
Where is it? It's on our new station. It's on AM 790. Nick Cope and I do it.
Okay.
But the problem is, and it's great. It's a really, really good show. But it also needs to be, and we're doing a better job this year of putting it out there. Like,
And
we're
you and
putting out
Nick
our
Cope
interviews
are
on
great.
social media.
Yes.
Well, and we're doing that. But the thing is it you know, podcasts and stuff like that with people that are connected to the program. There's a lot of opportunities. And again, please, UCLA people, I swear, I'm not. We're all in this together. We're all trying to figure out ways to improve the product. And I think that it's okay. I mean, one of the things we're learning right now in our world that we live in is voicing our opinions, and even having different opinions than other people, because trust me, there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of different opinions on UCLA football and what it should do. It's okay to listen to everybody. It's okay to hear what people have to say. And then hopefully you have enough smart people in the room that they can actually listen to what's being said and say, you know what, that's a good idea. Maybe we should do more of this. Maybe we should do more of that. Because you can't, you sometimes change is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, okay, so getting back to what we were talking about, you know, Wayne, like you, I get frustrated listening to national shows or anytime UCLA comes up and all you hear is, oh my gosh, this UCLA job, it's not a good job anymore. Oh my God, UCLA, they're out of money, they're running at a deficit. And what you said about the school actually firing back with a little bit of, you know, hey, you know, we're okay over here and we're going to do a good job making a hire and we're going to take a big swing or whatever it is they're going to say. I would love to hear that too. Now, however, right, it wasn't that long ago, going back to like how good of a job UCLA is or how bad of straits they are in. It's not that long ago that Jim Mora came in here and kind of galvanized everybody and got everybody pulling in the same direction. And they had 3 really, really good years and could have sustained that if things would have gone a little better for them. You know, that's not that long ago. But even with the Jim Mora era, you know, the last 26 years of UCLA football, they've finished in the top 25 like 4 times. But the 26 years before that, the years you were associated with the program, Wayne, it was 17 over the last 26 years before that. What I'm getting at is UCLA caught lightning bottle under Mora. The Chip Kelly era was kind of, like you said, they were better than what it's characterized, but it's probably more characterized by the fact they never quite broke through. Do you think there's a ceiling on this program right now that this national media kind of talks about, or is it just a matter of getting the right pieces together and then kind of the sky's the limit? I mean, how do you feel about that?
Oh, that might be the best question of the night. I always felt like when Terry Donahue was the coach, we did not go too long with whether it was the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s. Those teams didn't go too long without winning a conference title.
Right.
Lots of Rose Bowl teams. I mean, UCLA in the 80s had 3 Rose Bowls and a Fiesta Bowl in like 4 straight years. I mean, it was incredible. Like, even though Troy Aikman's teams didn't win a conference championship, they had 2 10-win seasons and was, I mean, nobody wanted to play that team. That team was really, really good. And then you go into my years, we had 6 All-Americans, which I still think is the record in 1993 on one team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some pretty freaking good talent. And then when Donahue left, Bob Toledo inherited a ton of players including Cade McNown, that were recruited by Coach Donahue, and that was our last Rose Bowl season. So if you think about it, those were all Terry Donahue connected teams, and then you throw in in Toledo. Remember, I want to say he won 7 or 8 games back when we only used to play 11. Conference game, 11 games, not 12.
Mm-hmm.
I forget he won 7, and they let him go because expectations were so high and people didn't feel like we were trending in the right direction. You remember with our basketball program, people thought that Van Halen wasn't good enough and we were going to Final Fours. I know people would love to have that again.
Yep.
So like sometimes we had moments in the past where we were almost full of ourselves, where we expected more, and we found out over time that it's not that easy. So my whole thought is that UCLA, with the expansion of the playoffs, with the school being as elite as it is, and I think the transfer portal hurt a little bit because not everybody's seeking an education now that will pay you for the rest of your life. They're seeking quick money now. And I think that's tricky because if you really think about it, UCLA always had that to offer. You're going to get a UCLA degree. And there's only so many schools out there that can compete with that. And so you would get certain players that were really good athletes, but also wanted a really good education. And it feels like now everybody's just chasing money.
Yeah.
And so it feels like that's changed that a little bit. But I still believe that UCLA could finish. Like, remember when Petiti was talking about we want a playoff system where you get automatic bids. So say there's 4 Big Ten automatic bids. You cannot tell me that UCLA doesn't have it in their DNA, in their abilities to have a year where they win 9 or 10 games and end up in that 4 seed or 3 seed and gets a chance. You can't tell me that they can't do what Arizona State did or Indiana did. Those are programs that historically are not as good as UCLA, and they went to the playoffs last year. So I just will always believe that it's possible. And then once you start winning, then it raises your ceiling, right? You guys kind of know how that works.
Absolutely.
You have that 1 or 2. I mean, people are looking at Arizona State as a place to go play college football because they love Kenny Dillingham and they watch them win. So I definitely think that playoffs are in UCLA's future. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go nuts.
Right.
I think that they're a team that can do that. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities. And if Illinois has got a playoff chance this year, you can't tell me that UCLA can't be as good as Illinois. You just can't tell me that.
No, and we completely agree with that. Wayne, I have one more question about the program, and then I have a question about come back to the head coach. But I just I told you I was up at Berkeley over the weekend and did the whole walk into the stadium with the band and the crowd and all that stuff.
Yep.
And it's just a fun thing. You know, I know that at the Rose Bowl, we get the Bruin walk off the buses and all that stuff, and that's pretty cool. But, you know, given that right now it's undeniable, like the amount of people that go to the Rose Bowl right now is at an all-time low, and it sucks, and it's depressing. And just like you, I don't want Wayne Cook standing out there on the sideline looking up at a bunch of empty seats. I don't want the players looking at that, but it's where we're at right now. And just, it always leads me back to the thought of, you know, back 10 years ago when UCLA didn't draw any less ever than like 50,000, it wasn't doable. But I just keep coming back to, why don't we just turn Drake into a smaller kind of Stanford-like stadium and do it all up there and like whatever with the people in Bel Air, you know, tell them to deal with the noise and the parking, you know,
I literally
6 times a year. But
just tweeted this out, Jake. There are 2 reasons why. 1, you just hit it on the head, and 2, the lease with the Rose Bowls goes through 2044.
Wayne, how would you feel about a stadium at Drake that's smaller but filled up with the most diehard of diehard Bruin fans and students and a band?
Yeah, we've talked about it a million times, and it's funny because it makes sense. I mean, you mentioned Stanford, you could mention San Diego State Stadium, you could mention there's a lot of places they're building those anywhere from 35 to probably 50,000 seat stadiums, and it's you know, I always feel like you know, I love the Rose Bowl. I love being there, but I also love, you know, 45,000 people doesn't feel full, right? It still feels empty, but I think a lot of us would love that. And it feels like, you know, there's so many people talk about contracts all the time, but, you know, contracts get broken and renegotiated and, you know, all kinds of things happen. I've heard the Bel Air stuff a million times. I've heard the, you know, but, you know, I don't know. We could talk about it till we're blue in the face, but I think that there's a way to play at the Rose Bowl and win games and get more fans in the seats. And when you mentioned the Jim Mora era, I think we led the conference in attendance. We were averaging 70,000. And who cares? Who cares if we gave free tickets out to sit in the end zones?
Yeah,
who cares?
Who cares?
Get every high school kid in Southern California can come to a UCLA game and get in for free. Just show your student ID.
Well, the bottom line is,
put them in the end zones, fill them in.
If they win, Wayne, there's going to be people there. It's just, you know, like I said, I love that college environment of walking in the stadium inside the campus. It's just kind of cool.
Well, I'll say this: you watch a pretty good product on the field. Cal looked good.
Hey,
I cannot say that quarterback's. I can't say that quarterback's name, but man, he can spin it.
Yeah, I
he can spin it.
Yeah, especially with all the players UCLA's taken from them over the last couple of years. I'm like, how are they going to keep doing this? But like, you know, that coach, what's Wilcox? He's like Rasputin, man.
Wilcox.
He will not die.
Hold on. Well, this is another good point. It's possible. I mean, and again, I know people thought what they thought about, when Chip Kelly got hired, it seemed like a home run. It went a little stale. It took a little while to rebuild because we were pretty low. But
Yeah.
think about all the NFL players we had on those rosters.
Oh, every year.
We had a lot of really, really good, and the transfers we hit on.
Yes.
Think about all the transfers that came to UCLA that ended up being really, really, really good players. And so the problem is that we would lose these inexplicable games, right? You lose to Arizona.
Absolutely.
And you lose to an SC that you should have beat that one year. And then the Arizona State debacle, right?
Yes.
Where they came out and run all these freaky formations, and it took UCLA a full quarter at least to figure out what was going on. So there were some of those. But we were still at least, going in the right direction. Yeah, it wasn't good enough, but we can get back to that. Like we can up the ante and get an even better coach this time. The coaching search is, again, every single thing I'm hearing, you guys. There's going to be former players involved in this. There's going to be a committee that's going to be hired. This change is happening at a time where they're going to be able to get in front of this and really, really narrow in on the best candidates, which is tricky because not everybody's going to fit in LA.
Yeah.
We got to find the right person and someone with a ton of energy that is willing to do college football the way it's done now. Right? The college football landscape has changed a lot. You have to find a coach that knows the current system and how it works. So, but they're going to have time. And everything I'm hearing is they're not going to just settle. They're going to go and they're going to try to find the best possible coach and get this program back where it belongs.
And that's what we want to hear. That's exactly hopefully they will match that with their actions. And just the last thing I want to ask you is about the head coach, Wayne. And, nothing in particular, nothing specific, but if we were hiring Wayne Cook's perfect coach, which prototype would it be? Would it be, would it be the really hot coordinator that's at a high level? Would it be the head coach coming up from the lower levels? Would it be a grizzled old head coach that's been in the Power Four for a long time? What would Wayne Cook like to see generically in a head coach for UCLA? Or does it matter? I kind of feel like there's 50 guys who could do a really good job at UCLA. You just got to find one of them 50 guys. And they might they might have any of those qualities. I just want a guy who cares and wants beer.
Yeah. You just gave me an easy out because that's the way I always think. I mean, there's a lot of I say this about quarterbacks all the time. The quarterback position is not there's not one way to do it. We've seen a million different types of quarterbacks in the history of football, and some are slow and can barely move. Some are scramblers. The Steve Young type players that are in the Hall of Fame. Some are statues. Like Bledsoe and Will Bledsoe was one of them, but Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and some of those guys. There's a million different ways. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. There's the same thing with coaching. You can be Brett Bielema, but you can also be Chris Peterson.
Right.
You can. I mean, there's so many different types of coaches that win, and I mean, the key is always going to come down to, do you get the most out of your players? Can you evaluate talent? Do you have that kind of, and this is probably more important than anything that exists with the modern athlete. Do you have the status amongst your players to ruthlessly chew a guy out and not having him threatening to, transfer the next day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a coach that can handle and they respect you so much that you can just undress them, and they're going to wake up the next morning thinking, "Man, I got to get better. I let coach down."
Yeah.
When you're that kind, when you have a bunch of players that feel like they let you down, and they want to play for you, you're winning. And that's really hard to do in today's climate, and we're seeing it though at some of these schools. There's coaches out there. It's happening at Georgia Tech. It doesn't hurt to have a quarterback that plays like he might be one of the toughest guys in the world. You're seeing it the last couple of years at Notre Dame, even though I know they've lost 2 games, but they've actually played 2 real games. I mean, who knew that he was going to up the game at Notre Dame over Brian Kelly?
Yeah.
They got better. I mean, there's coaches that have that charisma, that ability to get these players to follow them and work hard and not get their feelings hurt when you try to coach them hard. And I think that's going to be key. Like whoever it is and whatever style they have, you've got to be able to get the most out of players in the modern era. And you got to be able to coach them hard without getting, having a bunch of kids get their feelings hurt and are thinking about what their next move is.
I think that's absolutely true. And then I think the addition to that too is you got to find a guy that can lead the people above him as well. Because you're talking about having the athletic department aligned.
Yes.
They have to all be aligned with the head coach, and he's got to be able to lead up and down, up and down the ladder.
Well, just this is like if I'm applying, like at my age, if I'm applying for a teaching job somewhere,
you're like 36, right, Wayne?
Well, yeah, like yes, exactly. No, I don't really want to work for just anybody. If I'm going to leave and go to a different school, I'm going to interview them.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, if you want me at this school, I've got 27 years of proving that I can do this. So I think that's going to be a part of this. You're selling your program, but this coach is going to come in and he's going to want to know that he has full commitment, because nobody wants to take a job that's going to be career suicide. They want to believe that they can come in and win. And so, and they might even say, hey, listen, if you really are interested in me, these are the things that I want to see.
Right.
These are the things that I expect, because this is what I have seen at places that are winning. And so, and by the way, none of this is an insult to anybody at UCLA.
Right.
What it is, though, sometimes, and I think people don't realize this, what makes a great team isn't one or two elite players. What makes a great team is when everybody pulls together to read the pyramid of success. Follow it. Follow it as an organization. These are all things we can get better at. And so maybe having a coach that has high expectations for the athletic department is also a good thing.
No doubt. No, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm telling you, Wayne, right now, Mike and I both have heart hands up for Wayne Cook. And we are so thankful for you on the What's Bruin Show.
Wayne Cook, 2028.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Run for anything. Run for anything. But as always, just overly gracious with his time. We have 45 minutes with this man, and he's just brilliant. And so anyways, Wayne, thank you so much for joining the show again. And thank you for coming on in this really rough time. Yep. Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin, and we need Wayne Cook to help us.
Well, yeah, you guys are the best. I mean that too. I appreciate it. You guys, there's some people out there that really, really support UCLA football. It doesn't mean they're always positive, but you guys are definitely a part of that.
We really appreciate
Cheers, Wayne.
it.
Thank
so,
you.
Wayne, you have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the bye week, and then enjoy your trip out to Chicago, out to Evanston, and on that weird field. And hopefully the Bruins can play better, and we can have a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. I'll be rooting for them. I can't wait. Actually, it looks like an extremely cool place to go, so I'm looking forward to it.
Totally. Okay, Wayne. Well, hopefully we'll catch up with you at some point again. But thank you very much for coming on the What's Bruin Show, and good luck to you, brother.
All right, guys. Anytime.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Oh my God.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's got to be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, Rob, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.